Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Nervotics Q&A. We're the proud leaders in direct current education, sharing the experience from athletes, coaches, doctors, and other professionals worldwide. Today's conversation is hosted by our CEO, Matt Dell, who continues to lead the charge in getting this therapy everywhere. Matt, good afternoon. Good to see you. How you doing?
Fantastic. How you doing today, Jake?
I'm doing well. I'm excited about this one because it's an athlete in a different sport we haven't had before.
I love it. I'm excited as well. So why don't we just jump on in and introduce who we're going to bring on today to our audience?
Absolutely. Let's stand by for the video and then we'll pull them in.
Game at the Bowler Sean PBA Tournament of Champions. 25th televised perfect game. First bowler ever to do it twice.
Winning can be addictive, but for some athletes, it's not about addiction. It's about a habit woven into the fabric of their being. He wasn't just another bowler on tour. He became a force. 18 PBA titles, 2 majors, and in 2012, Player of the Year. He made history under the lights, rolling back-to-back perfect 300 games on TV, epic moments of precision that etched his name where only the boldest belong. Team USA, international gold medals, Hall of Fame inductions. For more than 2 years, he never lost a single match on TV, a career that carried him into the Hall of Fame, standing among the giants. And even now, decades after his first tour title, you guessed it, he's still winning, still carving his name into the game. His name is Sean Rash.
To this moment, probably the biggest ball he's rolled in his career. Looking for 9, brings it in, he goes!
Another awesome intro there, Jake. Good work.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, how do I get you to be my marketing guy? Holy smokes.
There was a lot of good material on you, though. There's a lot of good videos I didn't use. I may have a question on one that I think I saw it before you even became a part of our company. We'll talk about that later. I'll let Matt get with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the great intro. What a man, so many great moments there. Seeing my wife, my kids. I guess when you get old, you have some highlights, right?
Well, you're just getting started, so that's a good thing. Tell our listeners a little bit about your background, your journey, where you're from. In our very, very brief intro, you mentioned Alaska, so I've got to dive into that. Let's hear a little bit some of your Alaska upbringing.
Yeah, so I live in Montgomery, Illinois, currently just outside Chicago, about an hour west of the city. I've been here about 14 years now. I lived in Wichita, Kansas for a decade before that. I went to school with the Shockers. Won a national championship there with them in 2003. But prior to that, I grew up in Anchorage, Alaska for 17, 18 years of my life. My parents lived up there for almost 30 plus years, but talk about a little different scenario up there, right? You know, all day in the summer, you're fishing and playing outside, and in the winter, you're all day inside bowling or doing something inside. So I've been very grateful to live in 3 amazing cities so far with amazing support systems in the bowling center communities, Jewel Lake Bowl in Anchorage, T-Bird Lanes in Wichita and North Rock, and then now my current home center, Parkside Lanes here in Montgomery. So, but I've traveled all over the world. I say I've lived in 3 cities, but I tell people I live in a hotel room pretty much year round. About 200 plus days a year I've traveled for the last 20 years since I've been on tour. It's nice to sleep in my own bed, though, when I am home.
I love it. So is that where obviously as a kid in Alaska, you obviously were bowling in the winter. At what point did you kind of realize, wow, I'm pretty good at this sport?
Yeah, man, great question. I was 13 years old when I shot my first 300 game. It was a Friday night. I was bowling a qualifying event for a national tournament. My parents weren't even there. I was bowling with some friends, and so they came up, of course, and spent the rest of the night with me after I shot 300. And I had the high average in the state at the same time. A couple years later, I started to win some scholarship money and bowl in a tournament called the Coca-Cola National Championships that brought me to the lower 48. And got to meet some college coaches and, basically learn that I could get an education out of this and make some money at some point. It seemed like it was easy money. At the same time, it was extremely hard. And my parents risked a lot and spent a lot of money for travel, of course. But, to go to school for 5 years at Wichita State for almost nothing, it seemed like debt-free, making some scholarship money, getting some school money, of course. It seemed like a pretty good idea. And then, after that, I was like, do I go work full time and do a job, or do I try out the PBA tour? I was told I was good enough. I had all the credentials as an amateur bowler and a youth bowler. I went from a big fish in the little pond, so they say, and then I went to the big pond and being the little fish. So you learn and you grow as you go, of course, through the years. There's good times and there's bad times. And I've had the roller coaster of a career for 20 years, but I don't regret anything I've done or said, and places I've been, and everything I've accomplished has been a dream come true so far in the career choice I've made.
I love it. Well, I got to ask you some questions about the collegiate bowling, because that's brand new. Didn't even know it exists. I'm sure a lot of our listeners don't know about it. Tell us a little insight on that. I mean, does every pretty much university have it? Is because I know they're cutting sports. What's the landscape of collegiate bowling, if you could?
Yeah, from what I can gather, still right now, it's still thriving. You have NCAA for the women's programs. Wichita just became NCAA a year ago. There's 50 schools, if not more, I believe, with there. You have the NAIA program. Then you just have the recreational side of it with Wichita State and the other schools on the men's side that, of course, can't do the NCAA side. But, high school bowling is still growing as well, something I didn't have growing up in Alaska, but it's huge down here in the lower 48. You can get scholarships, of course, through multiple programs all over the country. Of course, I still think Wichita State's the powerhouse. They have the most national championships for both the men and the women's side of the program. And then you got some other ones across the country, of course, that have done extremely well through the years. But I'll always bleed the black and gold, Wichita State. So go Shockers. And, the college season's actually starting here in just a couple of weeks. There's actually a couple events here in the Chicagoland area that I'll hopefully be able to attend in the future.
Yeah, well, good. I've got some very close friends. This is going to absolutely age me, Jake. I apologize, but that were Shockers. They played baseball there.
Oh boy, Gene Stevenson area.
Gene Stevenson, and it was that was back probably. I graduated high school in '83, so that was '83 to '87 back when they're in their peak. Used to love it because I was a Redbird, Illinois State, and so they used to come a couple times a year over and. Luckily, in that sport, they play 2-3 games, so we got some night outs. Gene, luckily, never caught one of them. One of the brothers were crazy, and he would stay out late and still get up and go 3 for 4 against the Redbirds. So it was kind of a fun time. But the Shockers obviously have a very good history in athletics, and this is interesting to hear about the collegiate side of the bowling. So that's. It's interesting to me, I'm sure, and to our audience. So that led you into the professional bowling. Tell us how challenging was that? I mean, these guys are obviously, when you first got on, is it more physical or mental, the stress? Tell our listeners a little bit about kind of the preparation of going from a collegiate level bowler to a professional.
Yeah, so we have an amateur side that's considered professional, but amateur at the same time. So during college, I started bowling for money in 2003. I bowled the Masters and finished 7th, which is one of our majors on the tour. And you pick and choose some tournaments to bowl to make money, to basically live. We call them professional amateur bowlers, which is really weird. But at the same time, it kind of gives you the sense of what it's like to compete against the best. And there's plenty of bowlers worldwide and here in the United States that don't bowl on tour that are extremely good and capable of probably bowling on tour if they wanted to. But it's a different lifestyle, right? There's guys on tour currently that don't want to be on tour because they just don't like the lifestyle. 4 or 5 months on the road nonstop, or 8, 9 months traveling, doing clinics and pro-ams all over the world like I do. It's a big wear and tear. And when I started on tour in 2005, the first event I bowled was the tour trials in Maryville, Indiana. I walked into there with my head high, thinking I was going to beat everybody, and I literally got my head beat in, and figured out where I was at in the career of the sport. We call it a rabbit squad, where you TQR every week. It's like golf, the Monday qualifier. And I thought I would make it out of all of those easily, and it didn't happen either. I was the alternate 7 times out of the first 9 or 11 events, which mentally challenging, of course. And then I finally broke through in Atlanta in 2006, made the cut, bowled with the big guys, and just missed match play. And then the next week I bowled in West Virginia, made it again, made the match play, won a couple matches, beat in my mind, the greatest of all time currently, Walter Ray Williams Jr. in the round of 8 to make the show. Was able to beat Mike Scroggins and Mike Devaney on television for my first national title, February 12th of 2006. And, it got me an exemption on tour. It got me a contract with Brunswick. It got me a contract with other companies within our industry. And it was like, everything's in front of you. And now you just got to go live the dream and continue to stay good at it. And I was very fortunate to have a really good start to my career, winning my first 4 TV shows, a lot of wins on TV, and just propelled me to be one of the best on tour at the time at a young age, is what they said. And then, you go through the hard life of being on tour, not winning, not making cuts, making shows, but not winning again. And the downfall, will you ever win again? And, talk about a grind, and, starting a relationship with my wife back then in 2006. The parent support, of course, is always there, but, trying to create a life also outside of bowling was very challenging.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds, and is it more physical, the mental part? I mean, tell our listeners a little bit, because I'm curious on the mental side. I mean, it's like everyone, thinks they, especially in that, at that level, right? Everybody can bowl a 300. Everybody can bowl well. Everybody. And I gotta believe it's like missing a 3-foot putt to make a cut, because is it 1 pin, 2 pins? Is it?
Yeah. You are so spot on. It's like every sport, like you just mentioned, right? Being friends with athletes like Mookie Betts and CJ Anderson that played football, and now Quinn that plays football, and a few other guys on the senior tour for golf. Everyone can hit a golf ball 300 yards now on the PGA Tour, it seems like, right?
Yep.
Every guy on tour can throw a strike and can play first arrow, second arrow, third arrow, fourth arrow. But it's that mentality of, okay, I missed a spare. Can I bounce back and throw 2 strikes in a row to catch up? Or do I not, do I split again and open again and just, fall off a cliff and, you're buried. And then it's week in and week out, and then it's block to block, and it's day to day. And, talking about sleeping right, eating right, training, working out, taking care of your body. We don't sit first class from city to city. We're pretty much driving from city to city. We don't have somebody carrying our golf bags, right? We're carrying our own bowling balls and lifting them in and out. I have 45 bowling balls in my car that we lug in and out every day at, 15 pounds a ball. It's 50 pounds a bag. It gets pretty tiring. And then trying to balance the other side of the life too, right? How do you take care of your significant others, or if you have kids, and then, if you miss a check and you don't have a sponsor, how do you pay your bills? So the mental part of it, I would say, is a lot harder nowadays, especially at my age, than the physical part. Even though I've battled 5 or 6 different extremely difficult injuries in my career, always planning ahead. I'm a planner. I know my schedule for the next 10 months already, where I'm going to be, where I want to go, what I want to do, how many events I want to bowl, how many clinics I want to do. But then I have to balance out the dad life, the husband life, and all the other fun things that come with it. So for me, it's way more difficult, the mental side of the game, than the physical side now after 20 years.
Yeah, I can imagine. You mentioned some injuries, and let's talk a little bit about that, and maybe obviously to lead into that, obviously where and how did you hear about direct current, and how did you connect with Nervotics?
Yeah, so funny enough, my wife's best friend Laura, her husband Ryan, is a sailor out of Chicago in the Lake Michigan. Was telling me that he was seeing this guy named Sam that works for you guys.
Okay.
He's like, hey, you really need to look into this guy, chiropractor, kind of physical therapist guy. He's got some really cool tools that you might be interested in. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So set up with him a couple months ago, went up, kind of showed him the injuries that I have with my back. That's the main issue right now in my current list of injuries. But so he sat me down, we kind of did some physical things, and then he put this device on me. And I'm like, all right, what are we doing? It seemed like a TENS unit, which I've used plenty of times through the years, and chirotherapy, ice baths, you name it. And so he put this thing on me, he started charging it up, and he's like, hey, let's do some workout. And I'm like, okay, this sounds weird, seems a little different. But after the first couple reps, I was, I'm sweating. I'm struggling with everything that's going on. I'm like, what are we doing? And he's like, we're strengthening parts of the body that you're just not used to using. And I'm like, all right, I could get used to this. So, of course, my travel schedule is hectic as can be right now with the summer tour stuff that's going on, clinics overseas and whatnot. I just returned from 2 weeks in Asia doing events for our military. So, haven't really got to see him since, but since we spoke, I was able to touch base with you, Matt, and Katie and everybody else, and trying to figure out a way to bring a device on the road with me to help take care of myself and do some things here and there to just survive living on the road.
I love it. So it sounds like you got one of the over-the-counter devices. Is that what I'm?
Yeah, I've got this little bad boy here. I got it right next to me right now.
Love it.
Travel with in my backpack now instead of in my suitcase. But I've used it on the plane a few different times. I've used it sitting in the airport. I sit it in the hotel room and use it, and even used it in the bowling center a few times in Sweden, and had a few other pros try it with some other injuries that are battling things right now as well. So
yeah, that's great. And so tell our listeners a little bit about, it sounds, what a great experience. That's typically how a lot of clients find us. It's the patients that go, okay, the success rate of clinics, chiropractors, PTs, professional teams that use direct current, it's the aha moment of, oh my God, what just occurred? This is amazing. I feel better. It alleviates the pain. And then how can I do this on my own? And that's when they, start looking at some of the over-the-counter devices, or get a prescription if their situation's dire enough to have a medical class device. But so now that you've got that over-the-counter, tell us, in your opinion, from a performance, how it's going to help you how it's helped you, with performance, because I understand you just came off a big W, and we want to get to that. Recovery, how have you used it? And then more importantly, activation, as you're going into a grind. I think, before we got on, you mentioned that you just came from an event where you had to, how many games did you bowl? I know I just threw a lot at you. That's a lot of stuff, so share with our audience those.
My biggest thing for me is trying to figure out times to use it, right? Like traveling, sitting in the hotel room, as we are warming up, cooling down. That's the toughest thing I think we battle as an athlete in our sport, is our cool down. We get done bowling a block and we jump right in the car and we're sitting like this, and our body's hot. So we don't really get a really good stretching routine or cool down routine. And so I'm able to put this on, and it warms the body up. It keeps it warm. You can feel the blood flowing. You can feel your body kind of like a massage to a certain degree with the current that it's creating for me on my lower back and even on my hand issue that I'm currently dealing with as well. So, the second part of that, bowling so many games, trying to, when do you use it? When do you don't use it? My thought more than anything is it's going to be like a morning routine, evening routine, or in a block between kind of thing to just keep the body going and cool down the right way. And, just keeping the body, I guess, moving, letting that blood flow that doesn't really get the flow sometimes when we're just sitting in a car or sitting in your hotel bed, doing nothing. Right. And I haven't used it a whole lot realistically in the gym side, so to sense, right? I'm not real sure I'm ready for that kind of full out 100%, lifting weights or cardio kind of things. I'm more worried about tripping or pulling something out and then, whatever else. So,
I'm going to interrupt you there. I'm going to interrupt you on the performance side. Jake, could you show us your guns?
Look at the
guns.
I'm a little afraid of that.
Jake went an entire year using the technology, didn't lift a weight, and he tested before and after, and he had the muscle strength, and we, I love it. So from that perspective, I get it, because you're in a grind of a 10-month journey in the last. So it's kind of like, when is that off season for you to kind of build up that strength and muscle and performance?
Yeah, so currently our schedule is for the 26 season is supposed to come out next week or in 2 weeks, and we're going to be bowling, from what I've gathered, the beginning of February to the beginning of June timeframe. After that is, regionals or clinics that I put on or going overseas to compete. So, realistically, I could take off June 1st to January 1st if, one, I make enough money or I have enough sponsors to take care of things. In our industry, unfortunately, there's probably less than 20 guys that could take off 6 months, that they make enough money through the PBA earnings, or they have a big enough sponsorship through the manufacturers and everything else. But I've always been a guy that's like to hustle. I like to grow the game. That's why I do the clinics and pro-ams all over the country. I've got 2 this weekend coming up in Kentucky and Tennessee. And then I go to Philly next weekend for one. I got a couple in Illinois later, and you name it. I've got a bunch coming up. So, I just want to see our game grow. So I don't see a downtime for me like some of the other guys. And some of the other guys have other part-time jobs too. They run pro shops or run a bowling center, or they, cut grass, or they do something else. So it's a unique sport, so to say, that we have professionally on, how many guys make a living doing it, and then how many guys just do it to do it.
Yeah. What can you say? Obviously, your journey to direct current was an interesting one. You're a professional. You're trying to make a living at a sport. You're obviously physically taxing your body and your arm and everything that goes into, the performance side of it, and now you've got an over-the-counter to help you travel and do that. What are your thoughts on just weekend warriors utilizing this technology? And
yeah, the biggest thing that I can tell you, so for years, I was healthy, right? I thought. And then when the back injury happened, it was injections and chiropractic and masseuse and, and wondering if I was ever going to throw a bowling ball up again. So I've tried everything you can think of. So far, knock on wood, for the last 3 months or 2 months that I've had this device, I haven't had to really get any massages. I haven't had to go see my chiropractor, even though I've gone there just to show him the device and, get him interested in getting in touch with you guys. Right. So I feel like it's kept my body in a better position, physically, up and down, spine tilt wise, and just stayed positive instead of going down that rabbit hole of, oh my God, my body's hurting again. What's going to happen next? And it's more of, hey, this is helping me. It's creating blood flow from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. And mostly in the middle of my body, my core and my lower back, that do all the work when I'm competing, right? I'm right-handed, but we're still using the whole body, and we're doing a lot of twisting left and right, and a lot of lifting, of course. So that has kept me in that positive mindset to where I feel like it's going to only help me as, the season starts in 4 months from today, right? Like, if I continue to do what I did last year with working out and everything else, how much farther am I going to be ahead in 4 months than I was a year ago with just working out?
Yeah. Well, we ask you to don't keep this quiet, this direct current, like we see in all the other sports, the NFL, the NBA, that, these guys are so secretive because, it is a challenging, they're trying to compete at a high level, very similar to yours. I do have to say, you mentioned something, all the cost associated with just keeping your body right with massage and with chiropractor, PT. We have heard from so many people that can easily cost justify the technology of direct current, because when you start replacing that and sharing that with family and friends, to just, whether you're a professional athlete or you're just a weekend warrior, we get a lot of people that now can cost justify because they're not spending $100 and $150 a week for massage or deep tissue.
Yeah.
And these are everybody. I mean, you're talking professionals all the way down to, weekend warriors that are just trying to stay healthy and move and walk and pickle or do gardening or whatever. So it's interesting because it's not becoming such a secret anymore, but, so tell us, you said, you mentioned, and I'm going to go there, I'm assuming it was your last event where you won. Is that correct? Was that in Sweden?
Correct. Yeah, my last title just came about 3 weeks ago now in Sweden. My 18th title, one that when you win one, you never know when the next one's going to come, right? You don't know if it's the next week or if it could be, for me, it's been 4 years since I won my 17th, which was on my birthday. So I was content with my last title being on my birthday, right? But now
Nice.
My last title comes in Sweden, battling an injury that happened on the day of it. And, it's going to become, more and more special the more and more I think about it.
Yeah, well, that's good. I know that I overheard a conversation with you and Jake right when I came on about it, that injury. Let's talk a little bit about that and let Jake dive in and talk about, pad placement and what's going on with that injury and how we can get you, what compensations may have actually occurred to cause it, and how we can get you to back winning as many titles as possible. Because now I've got a vested interest. I want to see you have success without question. And now I'm becoming a very avid, bowler, if you will, or professional bowler.
We're gonna get you guys bowling soon. So, rewind back to the championship day. It's a long day. It starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and ends about 9 o'clock at night. I was able to get a bye for the first round, so I didn't have to bowl the first 6 games of the day. But it's a re-entry event where you bowl 6 games a day throughout the week, multiple times a day if you want. I bowled 3 squads that week. Lucky for me, I bowled really good the second squad to make the cut and get that bye. But using this machine that I have with me, in the week, took care of my lower back. It kept me fresh. I was able to play golf one day. But fast forward then to that Sunday, we bowled from about 10 o'clock to noon for 6 games. We took an hour break. So it's one of those, what do you do for an hour? All right. How do you stay warm? Well, there's not a whole lot of things to do. For me, I continue to just walk around and stay loose, drink plenty of water or Gatorade, right? Try to keep the electrolytes in. After that, we bowled a 3-game match. It took about an hour and a half. And then we had an hour break again. And then bowled another 3-game match and another hour and a half break. And after that second 3-game match, it was down to the final 4 for the TV show. And it was, 7 o'clock at night when the show started late, of course, and you're practicing and you're stopping and, the constant start-stop has always been an issue for me over the last 3 or 4 years for my lower back. But because of being able to use this machine during the day and through the week, I felt pretty good. Mm-hmm. I was lucky enough to get through my first match on TV, and that basically created another 35, 40-minute break because there was another match before I bowled for the championship match. And I was just beat up, 12 hours in the bowling center, dehydrated. You don't get a time, in my opinion, to eat a full good meal to stay energized, so to say. So it's like candy bars or snack bars or protein bars just to stay moving. Mm-hmm. As we were warming up, my right forearm just kind of locked up. My hand, my forearm, you name it. And I didn't think I'd be able to bowl. It hurts so bad. Just trying to so I'm right-handed. I use my thumb. So I use these 2 fingers and this thumb, trying to put it into the bowling ball. Just hurt. Lucky enough, the tour rep that was there helping me that week, Brett Spangler from Motive, found me a massage gun to help me kind of loosen it up, kind of like release it. But I went to the old school kind of release back in the day, threw it at the head pin, made my spares, caught a couple strikes, and, good for me that my opponent wasn't locked in, and I was able to come away with the victory. As soon as we got done, I iced it, of course, right? They say ice is always a great thing for injuries. Got back that night and put this device right on my hand and used it the entire way home Monday on the plane for about 8 hours, sitting in my seat. And I felt good on Tuesday. I felt like I could bowl if I wanted to. Of course, I didn't. I didn't need to bowl, so took some extra time off and got an MRI done just to make sure nothing was torn, right? You never know when you tear something. But I really believe that having that blood flow and using it through the week and for the last month and now since then, it's helped it heal faster. And it's just one of those things. How do I continue to keep my wrists from tightening up down here in the bottom where we squeeze? And then, how do I take care of the forearm and the shoulder and, even down to the lower back?
Yeah, that's great. I think I'll let Jake dive into that. I think, one of the greatest, and I use it all the time, and he's a trainer that, works with multiple NFL guys all over the league and can't be with them pregame, postgame. And he gave the best analogy, put the pads above and below what's hurting, do some movements, and typically it'll work itself out. So I think, from that perspective, so many people try to overcomplicate, oh my gosh, the pad placement. Knowing that mindset is pretty good, right? But obviously there's so much more protocol and technology and different scenarios. So I'll let Jake kind of dive into the specifics of his recommendations, not only on pad placements, but also, just so our listeners can hear it, and then also just to kind of help guide you on what, you should be doing.
Yeah. So, Sean, you actually did all the right things. And that's one of the reasons you had your major success. I think what people tend to think about is, the performance side, and they lean more into the device on the performance side. But the real key to this is if you're using it for muscle recovery, for blood flow, even the therapy side, and even warm-ups, this is where you're going to get the best performance, because this isn't going to make you a better bowler. You're already at the top of your game. What it'll do is it'll help you continue to perform at the top of your game a lot longer than most people who aren't doing this. So a lot of your success, you could essentially place the pads anywhere and have some of that success just because you're getting some blood flow. A couple of recommendations on pad placement. I would place the black right on the top portion of your elbow or of your forearm, right here in the brachioradialis. It's probably hard to see on that. So right on the top there. And then the red, just where your pronator is at, going long ways. So you're kind of surrounding the forearm above and below.
Pad. So you're saying the pad here for black?
Yeah, a little bit more on the top. Yep, right there.
Okay.
And then the red would be right below it. So even though you're having some pain down by the hand, a lot of that is usually attributed to muscle breakdowns up here. So you want to get this to fire up first, but not just the pad placement. While you're actually turning up the output power, you want to go through some sort of movement. It could be something as simple as that, or maybe a slow motion of going through a bowling motion without the ball, where you're replicating that movement that you want to go through in your event. So that's one way you can do it, especially when you're in the tournament and you can't really get to like water. And we'll talk about hand bath as well. There's another placement that you can do where you're placing the black lead. Let me see if I can move this over a little bit. It's right on the back of your shoulder. So you'll place it right back here. I'm sorry, not the black. We'll do the red lead on this one. Red lead on the back of the shoulder, and then the black will go on that clamshell pad. You saw the sponge.
Yeah. And
then the sponge goes underneath the clamshell pad. You wet the sponge. And in this case, you're sweeping through that entire area. While you sweep through, you can actually open and close while you're kind of moving through it. If you find a place, a lot of times when there's a hot spot, it's going to react differently than healthy muscle tissue. Just because it's not used to absorbing that force. It does a great job in being able to sort of detect some of those breakdowns before they actually happen, because it's directly hitting that force on there. So you want to hold on to those kind of weird places go through movements and turn it up while you're doing that. And it's just
You're
a
saying
sweeping technique.
you're taking this black part, putting it on here,
Correct.
right? And then just kind of going up and down, moving it like that.
Through the whole forearm. You could do it throughout your body. If you low back, you could get somebody to do it for you.
And my wife.
Yeah. And the black pad, we could certainly talk about other placements with that, but there's so many different avenues you could take this while you're in tournament. One of the things I'd recommend while you're at home is what's called a hand bath. And it's the same kind of setup with the clamshell. The black clamshell and the black lead will go in the water. Your hand will be on top of it. And then the red will be on the back of that shoulder where you're experiencing some of that pain, that same arm. And what tends to happen is the water acts as a magnifier. Rather than just wherever you're anchoring the pads, think of it almost as if you're putting a hand or a glove on, and it's all electrical current. The water kind of magnifies it. It helps pull out a lot of inflammation because that current works to your advantage. It's going from your hand to the back of your shoulder. So during an injury, you might have developed some inflammation. It's creating pain. It's changing your range of motion. It's throwing off your form for bowling. So this will help pull that out while you're trying to fire up those muscles. And then you're getting in blood flow, and you're also waking up some of those dormant areas that have created the pain in the first place. I don't think there's any world right now that you don't try a hand bath and at least see what it does for you. I think once you do that, you're going to find it's going to be one of your go-tos, not just off season, but probably when you're not in tournaments and you're at a hotel, you can easily do it, or even when you're at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's trust of putting it on water. That's hard.
You're not alone. I mean, we've got doctors' offices and chiropractors that are like, what? We're putting this in foot bath, and you have to kind of convince them that this is, and then when they see the outcomes of their patients, it's and you'll feel that with the hand bath. On the activation side of using that, I think we're seeing, because you've got the performance side, which is the strength building, obviously. You got the recovery side, which is the blood flow, and then the activation is huge. As you have those delays, that activation is allowing for you to kind of fire up not just one area, but kind of moving it around and firing up those areas so that you are fresh. Love hearing your success of utilizing it in between. I hope that your opponents don't hear this Q&A. Hopefully they're not following you on social media and watching this, because it's just going to make your job even more challenging, providing for your family financially and getting more of those big things behind you. I love it. All those trophies. So
yeah, no, I've had I let two different athletes actually use it in Sweden. AJ Johnson, who lives just up in Wisconsin, actually used to live about 20 minutes from me here in Illinois, and then Danielle McCune, a great friend of mine in New York, New Jersey area, both battling hand injuries. Danielle's been battling one for a couple of years, and I've already put her in touch with Katie, but she's getting ready to get married, so she's kind of pushing it off a little bit. But both of them tried it in Sweden. They were shocked by how quick they could feel the tens, with the I don't even know how to say the adjustments of how fast and how strong it would be with the electric currency, and then just the blood flow. Just realizing they could turn it up for better blood flow as well after they got they finished a block. So I know I got a couple of people already interested, and I'm all about growing my sport in my profession. As much as I don't want my competitors to have an advantage, I want them to be able to stay healthy. I've always said that I've dealt with a lot of injuries through my career, and I hope nobody else has to, because it's not fun. I don't wish negativity on anybody in that form of being hurt. I might wish negativity on their score, but I don't like seeing anybody hurt.
Yeah, and they still have to beat you in both strikes, and you throw a lot of strikes.
That's all. Well, listen, Sean, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your extremely busy schedule traveling. I can't imagine the amount of A-lists and or 1K United American. You're probably you probably know more about airports around the world than most people will ever dream of. So
you need a flight booked. I got you. I could
be a
travel agent for sure.
Yeah. Well, listen, we can't thank you enough. for people now that we're going to help promote professional bowling, how can people, myself included, follow you and keep track of all these W's that you're getting across the world? What are some good ways to stay in touch with you?
With me? Yeah, my biggest thing is Facebook and Instagram, Twitter/X now for all those new generation people. I do have a YouTube channel. I don't use it much. It's one of those, I don't know, too old for YouTube, or just don't do the right content for it. But, Facebook and Instagram is kind of my go-to things to use. You can follow all of my sponsors through my website, SeanRashBowling.com. And most of my clinics and stuff that I do worldwide are on mostly Facebook and Instagram too. So, again, it's just, social media is where it's at. It's where you get to connect with people around the world, and help grow whatever industry you're in. And, I've been, like I said, grateful since Ryan introduced me to Sam to learn more about your guys' industry, and appreciate you guys helping me out with this device, and looking forward to the future that it holds.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to take you up on your invitation to come out and bowl when I get Jake in. But the thought of, the competitive grind, I'm used to. I need beer and pizza. And
that's fine with me. I don't mind having a good time as well.
Right,
we can make it competitive and recreational at the same time. That's the one thing a lot of people have a misconception with our sport, right? They think of beer and food and whatnot. And listen, I bowl league on Tuesday night with my wife at Parkside Lanes, and we'll have a couple drinks while we're bowling, and we eat, the bowling center food. And I brought my kids the other night, and it was full circle for me, because I remember watching my parents bowl, and when they got done, I would bowl. And then this other night, just 3 nights ago, we did the same thing. We finished bowling. My kids wanted to bowl. My friends' kids wanted to bowl, and we sat there and we just watched our kids have a good time. So. But when we bowl league, I'm still competitive. I still want to throw a strike. I still want to make my spares, and I still want to beat my opponent. Right.
Yes.
And if I lose, I'm not happy about it.
Yeah,
but
I love it.
It's a little different kind of loss, right? Where on the PBA tour, we don't drink until the block and the day is completely over, right? It's against the rules. You don't see guys drinking at halftime and smoking in between quarters and everything else, right? They wait for their event to be over. So
yeah, well, I can tell you that as being in a bowling league many years ago, and this will absolutely age me, the worst part about the league, A, was it lasted forever, and B, they used to allow smoking in the bowling alleys, and oh my God, I would walk out of there smelling like a chimney. And then the last point I'm going to make, and Jake is just texted me, so I've got to bring it up. He absolutely needs the bumpers up.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I don't know.
We'll get him one of them slides so it goes straight.
There you go. I love it. Well, Sean, thanks for your time today. Can't thank you enough. We're here for you. Wish you all the best, and definitely going to be following you on all your social medias, and hoping you have a great, successful season. And I'm going to take you up. We're going to get together on some bowling for sure.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And Jake, I'm looking forward to talking to you more about some pad placements and ways to take care of this aging body and competitiveness that I have in me still. So thank you guys both for having me on and all you've done so far. And like I said, looking forward to the future.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, Sean.
We'll share our information afterwards. I'd be happy to keep in touch. Thanks. Sean, take care.
See ya.
Well, Jake, that was interesting. We've never had a professional bowler. That was enlightening. So
yeah. Now that we have him off, I do want to show one thing, and I'm going to ask him off camera how in the world he pulled this off, because I've seen this a while back, and I must have watched it 30 times, and then I came across it, and I was like, oh, that was the guy. So I want to share this. I want to get your thoughts. Let's see. Hold on. Let me know if you can see this right here. Check this out.
You got to be kidding me.
Is that how you get a 7-10 split?
If you can use 2 balls, absolutely. I love it.
I got to ask him that.
Yeah, that's good. Well,
I could barely bowl with one hand, so let alone 2.
it couldn't be more set up direct current for the amount of twists and turns that these boulders are from head to toe, right? I mean, they're using basically everything, just like any professional sport.
100%.
And to be able to, use it for performance, for recovery and activation, especially as they got those, downtimes. So psyched that he came across us, and hopefully who's ever watching this can learn more and integrate direct current into their daily lives, whether a professional or a weekend warrior.
100%. And if you'd like to learn more about our technology, make sure you check out our training courses, or if you want how to get involved, go to nervotics.com. It's nerveots.com. And until next time, stay current, keep moving.
And let's mention the follow us on Instagram, all those social medias, because we've got a lot of professionals and weekend warriors that are, posting. And so it's a great place to learn there, and subscribing to our YouTube channel for sure. I think there's some great video and content in there as well.
Absolutely. YouTube, awesome. Instagram.
Well, Jake, another great one.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care.
Yeah. Have a good one, Jake. And we'll see you next time. All right. Take care.
Sounds
Bye-bye.
good. See you.